Hello friends, welcome back to this lecture series of earthquake resistant design of structures where we are busy discussing the performance of masonry structures when subjected to seismic forces. In the previous lecture, we have seen the basic configuration that is required for masonry structures to behave well during the performance during the earthquake, and also we have seen the travel path of forces in case of masonry structures. In the last lecture, we saw a couple of tips or we saw a couple of guidelines suggested by the Indian standard to ensure that the masonry structures behave well under the earthquake forces. So we continue and go in depth of these guidelines that are provided by Indian standard to ensure the behavior of masonry structures during the earthquake forces. Right. So as we have discussed in the last lecture, that brick basically is a brittle material, and as a result of that, it is the most vulnerable type of material and most vulnerable type of structure which is likely to undergo deformation in case of strong earthquake shaking. So brick masonry buildings have large mass and hence they attract large horizontal forces during the earthquake shaking. Because as we have discussed in previous lectures also, the calculation of earthquake forces where BB is equal to H into W, where W is equal to dead load plus 0.25 LL, which is known as the seismic weight of the structure. So the more the dead load is going to be there, more the seismic force is going to be there on your building, right? And the dead load is dependent upon the size of the building and the load that is applied on this particular building. So if the mass of the building is large, then as a result of that, the amount of seismic force to be generated is also going to be large. So these develop when these large seismic forces will be acting on the masonry structures, then large will develop numerous cracks under both compression and tensile forces caused by earthquake shaking. The focus of earthquake resistant masonry building construction is to ensure that these defects are sustained without major damage or collapse during the time of earthquake. An appropriate choice of structural configuration can help us achieve this particular goal. So now when you talk about the structural configuration, then in the previous lecture, we saw that couple of guidelines were given where the first guideline was that the entire structure should behave as a box section, and box section can be achieved by interlocking of the walls. Then introduction of horizontal bands along the height of the building, such as the seal band, lintel band, roof band, gable band, right? And also, if necessary, the door and size of the doors and windows should be limited, and also in that case, the location is also important. Then the aspect ratio, that is height to thickness, length to height ratio should also be limited so that the toppling or out of plane bending of the wall is provided. And lastly, the suggestion was introduction of vertical reinforcing bars at the corners in order to ensure the interlocking of the walls. So these are these different aspects that different guidelines that are suggested by the Indian standard in order to ensure a sound structural configuration is available for masonry buildings. So we are discussing the same. The structural configuration of masonry buildings include aspects like overall shape and size of the building, distribution of mass and horizontal lateral load resisting elements across the building. Large, tall, long and unsymmetric buildings perform poorly during the earthquake. We have already seen this particular aspect in case of RCC structures also, right? That if the building is unsymmetric in nature, if setbacks are there, if it's too large, it is too long, then also large seismic forces are generated and a lot of stresses are likely to be acting in the particular building. The strategy used in making them earthquake resistant is to developing a good box section between all the elements of the building, that is between the roof, wall and the foundation, right? And that is what we saw, that the forces are going to travel from the roof to the walls and then to the foundation below, right? Now, as you can see in this particular figure that is there, then a particular horizontal element is included just above the window or the opening of the house, that is the door and the window both, and that is shown as lintel band. This is the introduction of horizontal band as recommended by the Indian standard code. And that what is the purpose of providing this band? Is the purpose of providing band is to reduce the height of the wall or to break the height of the wall that is there in the building. Then next is the influence of opening. That also the guideline we have seen in the last video, that the size of the opening should be limited and the location of this opening is also very important, right? For example, Openings are functional necessity in buildings. We cannot avoid them. Doors and windows are to be provided for air circulation, ventilation, visibility, and so many other aspects. Right? However, location and size of opening in wall assumes significance in deciding the performance of masonry buildings in earthquake structures. Right? So whenever particularly the load-bearing structures are going to be there, then in that case, the size and location of these openings are going to play an important role. So wall transfers the loads to each other at their junctions and through lintel bands and roof. Hence, the masonry courses from the walls meeting at corners must have good interlocking. That we have seen. That in order to ensure that good box section happens, then in order to ensure a good effect of box section, then interlocking between the masonry at the corners is necessary. For this reason, opening near the wall corners are detrimental to good seismic performance. That is, if a wall or a window is located exactly at the corner, then what is going to happen is that the interlocking with the wall in the other direction or the adjacent wall is not going to happen, and as a result of that, complete box section will be not achieved. Openings too close to wall corners hamper the flow of forces from one wall to other. Further, large openings weaken walls from carrying the inertia force in their own plane. Thus it is best to keep all openings as small as possible and as far as away from the corner. Right. So two things are suggested. First thing is that the opening should be avoided at the corners, and second, the size of the opening should be limited. Too large openings should not be provided along the length of the wall, because length of the wall is going to play a major role. It is your major axis, so it is going to help us in providing great stiffness to the building. So if large openings are provided along the length of the wall, then what is going to happen is that the stiffness is going to get reduced. And as a result of that, the transfer of forces is going to be affected. Right? So same thing that is explained in the previous slide is shown by means of a figure for better understanding. Right? So first we see the figure on the left side, where you can see that A1 and B1 and A2 and B2 are shown as the four elements, right? So regions of force transfers from weak walls to strong walls in a masonry buildings. Wall B1 pulls wall A1 and A2, while B2 pushes wall A1 and A2, right? So when we talk about the walls B1 and B2, then what is going to happen is that the depending upon the location and depending upon the types of forces that are going to be generated, the effect of walls are going to be there and the transfer of forces are going to be there. So as can be seen in this figure 1, then in that case we can see that the wall B1, right? So this wall B1 that is there, that is going to pull the wall A1 and A2, right? And when you talk about B2, then B2 is going to push the walls A1 and A2, right? Now, if we talk about the right hand side of the figure, then the right hand side of the figure is just talking about the location of the openings. And the location of the openings, as can be seen, that openings weaken the wall in a masonry building. A single closed horizontal base must be provided above all of them. So horizontal band is shown, as you can see, which is known as the lintel band. And along with that, the opening dimensions are also shown. So it is showing that if large openings are there, as can be seen in the figure, that the window opening is quite large as compared to the length of the wall, then as a result of, we can see we are going to get very less stiffness in that particular direction. And what is going to happen is that that particular wall is going to be weak in major axis also, and as well as weak in minor axis also. If this horizontal band is not provided, then definitely it is going to fail under the effect of earthquake forces, and as a result of that, the cracks are likely to be formed in this particular wall. Right? When you talk about earthquake resistant features that are necessary to ensure good performance of masonry structures, then as we have seen in the last lecture, several earthquake resistant features are included. So here that Indian standard suggests a number of earthquake resistant features to develop good box section in masonry buildings and to improve their seismic performance. For instance, it is suggested a building having horizontal projections when seen from the deck, like a building with a plan LTE, should be separated by a joint. So that we have already discussed in case of RCC also. That irregular shape should be avoided. Simple rectangular shape should be there. L shape, T shape, plus shape, U shape building, C shape building should be separated by means of expansion joint and converted into simple symmetric structures, right? In order to have good performance in case of earthquake. And also it is necessary to ensure that adequate gap is provided between these buildings depending upon the maximum displacement that is likely to take place at the top of the structure. The Indian standard suggests minimum seismic separation between blocks of the building, right? Then one of the other aspects or one of the other key areas that you see in case of masonry buildings is that the stair well is connected with the building, right? So the first figure is where the stair well is connected to the building, and the second is where the stair well is separated, or the stair shaft is separated from the rest of the building, right? So what is the purpose? The code is suggesting that the stair shaft should be separated from the building. What is the reason? Because stair is going to be subjected to good amount of live load, right? So the live load that we consider for stair is 3 kilonewton per meter square or 5 kilonewton per meter square. In addition to that, it is going to have floor finish, it is going to have its own thickness, right? So as a result of that, what is going to happen is that this stair shaft is going to attract large amount of earthquake forces. Why it is going to attract large forces? Because the mass is more in this particular area. The concentration of mass is more, then the seismic forces are also going to be more in this particular area. As a result of that, what is going to happen is that when the transfer of seismic forces will take place through these particular junctions, then as a result of that, the connection, the places where the connection of stair is done with that of the adjacent building, then in that case, the possibility is that the cracks will develop, right? So in order to ensure that the other portion of the building remains unaffected, it is suggested that the stair shaft should be separated by some amount, and the minimum gap should be provided between the stair shaft and the adjacent or the remaining part of the building. So this will ensure that the forces that are traveling from the stair shaft do not get transferred to the adjacent walls and do not create unnecessary stresses in the building. So these forces from the stair will directly travel from the stair shaft to the columns, and from the columns to the foundation, and from the foundation to the soil below. So the adjacent building will remain unaffected. Thanks for watching the video.